The sun hung low over Fort Halston, turning the training grounds into a golden battlefield of grit and sweat. New recruits jogged in formation, instructors barked commands, and the air trembled with the energy of competition. In the middle of it all stood Sergeant Mara Hale, tall, calm, and almost too quiet to notice exactly how she preferred it. Officially, she was just a late-entry trainee. Unofficially, she had spent 20 years in special operations, running missions so classified they didn't exist on paper. Now she was here for one reason: a mandatory cross-branch qualification that required her to redo the training pipeline with new recruits. She didn't complain. She'd survived war zones. A few weeks with rookies wouldn't kill her. Or so she thought. The trouble began during a combat drill. 3 of the larger male recruits, Briggs, Nolan, and Trask, had taken issue with the quiet woman who outperformed them in every task without even breaking a sweat. Every time she scaled a wall faster, lifted heavier weight, or finished a run before them, their resentment deepened. "She thinks she's better than everyone," Briggs muttered during break. "She's making us look bad," Nolan growled. Trask smirked. "Let's teach her a lesson." Mara heard every word. She simply tied her boots and kept drinking water. She'd met men like them all her life, men who mistook silence for weakness. She wasn't angry. She was only disappointed they hadn't learned respect yet. That afternoon, during a hand-to-hand sparring rotation, the 3 made their move. The instructor called for partners. Before Mara could choose one, Briggs shoved a recruit aside and stepped in front of her. Nolan flanked her left. Trask stood behind her. A triangle. Predictable, sloppy, and very, very stupid. Accidents happened during training, Briggs whispered with a smile that told her exactly what they planned. Nothing lethal, nothing graphic, just enough force to humiliate her in front of the platoon. The instructor blew the whistle. Briggs lunged first, grabbing for her vest. Nolan reached for her arm. Trask tried to hook her leg from behind. It was over in 3 seconds. Mara caught Briggs' wrist, twisted just enough to make him buckle, used his momentum to flip him clean over her shoulder, and he hit the mat with a thud that silenced the entire gym. Nolan froze long enough for her to slip under his guard and pin him with a pressure hold he'd never seen. Trask barely moved before her boot planted on his chest, not painfully, just firmly enough to remind him he'd made a terrible mistake. The recruits stared, wide-eyed. The instructor's jaw slowly dropped. Mara released them gently. No gloating, no anger, just a calm stare. "Rule 1, she said softly, never attack someone without knowing what they're trained to do." The instructor finally found his voice. "Hale, where did you learn moves like that?" She met his gaze without blinking. 20 years special ops, sir." The room erupted. Shock, whispers, disbelief. And the 3 recruits who tried to teach her a lesson. They stood straighter than anyone, suddenly very aware who they had been messing with. The following morning, rumors about what happened in the sparring hall had already spread across the entire base. Some said she flipped all 3 men at once. Others claimed she fought like she'd been trained by ghosts. A few insisted she must have cheated, because in their minds, no woman could move like that. But Mara Hale didn't care what anyone said. She reported for duty early, as she always did. Training was training. She wasn't here to impress children. Yet the 3 recruits she'd neutralized, Briggs, Nolan, and Trask, weren't done. Humiliation had hardened into anger. And anger had turned into stupidity. During the obstacle course, while instructors were distracted, the trio approached her again. This time they didn't charge her outright, instead they stalked her from behind the rope wall, whispering among themselves, each looking more desperate than dangerous. Trask hissed, "We hit her all at once." Briggs nodded. "She got lucky yesterday." Nolan clenched his jaw. "No one embarrasses us like that." Mara climbed down the cargo net and felt the shift in the air before she heard their steps. Years of combat in places far more dangerous than a training yard had honed her instincts razor sharp. She knew an ambush from the way the silence tightened. But she didn't turn around. She simply paused at the bottom of the net, letting her boots settle into the dirt. "Don't do this," she said quietly. Her voice wasn't threatening, just tired. Like a teacher warning children not to touch a hot stove. Briggs ignored it and lunged first. Bad decision. Mara sidestepped, caught his forearm, redirected his momentum, and he slammed into the net face first. Nolan charged next, punching wildly. She blocked every strike with minimal movement, one wrist catch, one elbow parry, one open palm deflection, until his frustration made his attacks sloppy. Finally she swept his legs, dropping him flat on his back. Trask came last, swinging a training baton he'd swiped from the weapons rack. Mara exhaled slowly. Weapons changed nothing. She closed the distance, grabbed the baton mid-swing, twisted, and disarmed him with a move so fast it barely looked real. The baton clattered to the dirt. The entire platoon froze. They'd gathered silently, forming a loose circle around the attempted ambush without Mara noticing. Even the drill sergeant stopped barking orders, watching in stunned silence as she dismantled 3 recruits with the precision of someone who'd been doing it since before they were born. Briggs groaned. Nolan stared at her like she was a ghost. Trask shakily sat up, clutching his wrist. "You could have broken us," he whispered. Mara finally looked at them, calm, unshaken. "If I wanted to hurt you," she said evenly, "you'd still be on the ground." The senior drill instructor stepped forward. "Hale, report, what is your background?" She hesitated only a moment. She'd tried staying quiet, tried blending in, but these kids needed to understand the difference between arrogance and experience. 20 years, she said. Special operations, multiple theaters, multiple teams, you wouldn't know the names. A ripple of shock passed through the crowd, and for the first time since arriving, the recruits straightened, not out of fear, but out of respect.